What is up, guys? So a new promo was just released for Supergirl Season 3, Episode 10, titled Legion of Superheroes, and it gives away a couple of things about the episode and about the season that we haven't known yet. Specifically, more things about the Legion of Superheroes, and more specifically, our first look at Brainiac 5. And he looks... well, let's watch the promo.
She's trapped inside a mind prison.
Rain is still out there. People are dying. I have to wake up.
You were warned.
I don't like our odds without Supergirl by our side.
We have a literal legion of superheroes.
When will she wake up?
Supergirl returns with an all-new episode Monday, January 15th on the CW.
Alright, so let's break down the trailer. It starts off with Supergirl in a coma, and then Wynn saying she's trapped inside the mind prison. The mind prison is not a real thing in real life or in the comics, so I don't exactly know what he's talking about. He might be talking metaphorically that she's trapped in the mind prison, which basically means a coma or whatever, but I definitely don't think so. It doesn't really make any sense. Why would Wynn say that? And the way he's saying that, it sounds like he's talking legitimately something called the mind prison. Now, what is the mind prison? Again, it's not something in the comics, so they might be making something up for the show where maybe a Kryptonian, when a Kryptonian goes into a coma, they get trapped inside the mind prison and something like that. Now, inside this mind prison, we see Rain floating right into Kara's house, and Kara's trying to escape. This might be like a nightmare she's reliving all over and over again, because you could see her trying to escape. Maybe it's like she's trapped somewhere and she's trying to escape over and over again. That might be the mind prison. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see for that. We then see Rain seemingly stopping a bank robbery. We did see her in episode 9 stopping another crime. I think it was a drug deal going on, and she stopped it, even though that doesn't really make sense because all she wants to do is Rain, and that doesn't really help her Rain. And she probably also wants to kill the world. She is called Rain, the World Killer. So it doesn't really fit into that whole motif. What I think is happening is that Sam is fighting back against Rain or something like that, and instead of going after good people or whatever, she's going after bank robbers, and she's trying to take over from Rain, which will probably not work because she is the main villain of the season. It might work in the season finale, but up until then, there's going to be this conflict with Sam and Rain that I'm actually pretty looking forward to. We then hear John Jones / Martian Manhunter saying, "I don't like our odds without Supergirl," and while that's a okay line, it doesn't really make any sense, because not only do they have the Legion, they have your Martian Manhunter. You could also just call in Superman. You could literally call Superman. You could also call in Guardian, Green Arrow, The Flash. You could call in all these characters, which, I don't know, I can't really complain about that. They can't have a crossover every episode, but not calling Superman is definitely something I can complain about because it doesn't really make any sense. But something that I really will be very disappointed in if it doesn't happen is if Martian Manhunter doesn't Martian up at all in this episode and team up with the Legion of Superheroes, I will be very disappointed. That is something I am really anticipating for this episode, for John Jones, aka the Martian Manhunter, to team up with Saturn Girl, Mon-el, and Brainiac 5 and take out, or at least fight, Rain, and then maybe they're losing and Supergirl wakes up and they defeat Rain or something like that. That's something I really, really want to see happen, and if it doesn't, if at least Martian Manhunter and the Legion of Superheroes don't team up, I will be very disappointed. We then hear Windshot saying, "We got a literal Legion of Superheroes," which isn't exactly true. I mean, they got 3 people, as far as we know. Speaking of those 3 people, we see their costumes for the first time, and I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed by most of these costumes. I think the Brainiac 5 one looks fine. Doesn't really matter because he usually doesn't have a quote-unquote costume. Usually he just wears a lab coat or something like that. But Mon-el and the Saturn Girl, their costumes look so boring. They're black and uniform. Like it seems like they have the same black uniform, which is just so disappointing. I was really hoping that Mon-el would get that red Superman-like costume that he has in the comics, and Saturn Girl will get that red and white costume that she has in the comics, which is why I'm so disappointed by this black, boring costumes that they have here in this clip. I'm really hoping that they change this. Both Saturn Girl and mon-el need to get new costumes, because these two are not good. And then we see Brainiac 5 in the actual mind prison right after Supergirl tries to destroy the door and get out. We see Brainiac 5 in there with a destroyed mug. And now I will talk about in a little bit about his looks, but right now, just talk about why he's here. This is obviously the reason mon-el called him to help with getting Supergirl out of the coma, and this is probably also the reason that the Legion of Superheroes is in the 21st century in the first place, to help Supergirl get out of the coma. Now, how did Brainiac 5 get into this mind prison? Either with his technology from the 31st century, or he knows some kind of thing, because he's like 12th level intellect. He's like a genius beyond genius, so he probably knows some kind of way to get into the mind prison. But again, this ties into the whole thing that I say, where I think that the Legion of Superheroes are here in the 21st century for a reason, and that's to make sure that Reign doesn't destroy the world or take over the world, and Supergirl doesn't stay in the mind prison. And then the trailer ends with Martian Manhunter saying, "When will she wake up?" over Supergirl failing to get out of the mind prison. Now, I could answer that question, or at least how I hope, or when I hope she wakes up, and that's in the next episode. I know I said I wanted to team up with the Legion of Superheroes and Martian Manhunter at the end of the episode and beat Reign, but it would be even cooler if that happened in the next episode. So this whole Supergirl being in a coma thing actually has slight, long-lasting effects. After a cliffhanger in episode 9 and a month break, it would be pretty cool if the cliffhanger actually had long-lasting effects on the show, where she's in a coma for more than one episode. So I think that would be pretty cool, and it would be more epic if at the end of the next episode or something, she comes out of the coma and gets into another fight with Reign. That would definitely be something that I would love to see. Okay, so let's talk about Brainiac 5. He looks pretty weird. I still don't get why he's blue. I made a whole video about it, and I said it doesn't make any sense that he's blue, just make him green. A lot of comments said that it's a green screen problem, but I'm telling you that's not an issue, because you look at Arrow or even Supergirl with Martian Manhunter. Green Arrow is green every single fight scene he's ever been in, and they don't have a problem with that because they probably use a blue screen, which means that they can use green people or items or whatever. They use blue screens in movies all of the time, so it's really not a problem. I guess you can say that a blue character and a green character can't be on a blue or green screen at the same time, which is, it's fair, but that's not a reason to change a character's color completely for, which is why I still don't get why Brainiac 5 is blue instead of green. But even if he was green, he would probably still look pretty weird because his hair looks so wrong. His hair has never looked right in the comics. I would say it looked pretty good and natural in this TV show, in the animated TV show they had back in like 2005 or something like that. But in the comics, it never looked right. But this takes it to a whole another level. It doesn't look right on his head. That's probably his real hair too. So that's pretty baffling. It might be something, it has something to do with the blue color or even the symbol on his forehead. But the hair it doesn't look right on his head. Now I will say that the symbol on his forehead looks pretty cool. That's the Brainiac symbol. You could also see it on his shirt. It looks pretty cool because it's like embedded in his forehead and you can see the ripples around it. That's one thing that Brainiac 5 on Supergirl looks, they got right, the symbol. But the color of his skin and the hair don't look right at all. Also, his costume is pretty boring. I'm sorry if I'm complaining a lot, but I'm pretty disappointed with how Brainiac 5 turned out to look. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people agree with me. So with all of that, I am still excited for this episode. Despite the fact that Brainiac 5 looks really weird and the Legion of Superheroes don't have that great costumes, I'm still pretty excited for this episode, simply for the fact that we might get a Martian Manhunter and Legion of Superheroes, and also maybe Supergirl team up. That's something that would be awesome to see. So let me know what you thought about the trailer in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.